The sound of the icy wind comes through the gaps in the window. The snow falls silently outside as you watch the Christmas tree in the living room. The lights flicker slowly, but you sense that something is different tonight. The world seems peaceful, but inside you feel a restlessness that you can't explain. Silence has never been so heavy. As you look at the ornaments on the tree, something catches your eye. A star at the top begins to shine brighter. At first, you think it's just the reflection of some light, but the brightness increases. The glow is not normal. It pulses as if it were calling you. Suddenly, you hear 3 firm knocks on the door. The sound echoes through the house. Tum, tum, tum. Your heart races. No one was supposed to be knocking at this hour. You get up slowly, trying to keep calm. Each step you take towards the door seems heavier than the last. When you open the door, icy air rushes in. But it's not the cold that makes you shiver. It's the man standing in front of you. He has gray hair, a short beard, and a strong presence. But what strikes you most are his eyes. Eyes that see everything. He doesn't need to say a word. He knows. He knows what you're feeling. He enters your home without asking permission. You feel like stopping him, but you can't. Something inside you tells you that he has to be there. He walks over to the Christmas tree and stops in front of it. The glow of the star at the top is now even stronger. Then the man points to the star, and at the same time, you see a strong image form before your eyes. A white horse appears in your mind. It's an intense vision, as if it's happening in front of you. The rider on the white horse wears a golden crown and holds a bow, but there are no arrows. He rides triumphantly, and the people around him follow him willingly. They applaud, raise their hands, and run to follow him. Not all light comes from God. The phrase echoes in your mind like thunder. You watch the people following the knight and feel a discomfort in your chest. They believe him to be a savior, but you see something strange in him. There's a sense of falsehood. He doesn't fight with weapons, but uses words, promises, and speeches that seduce people. The crowds follow him blindly, without realizing what they are doing. The vision suddenly disappears, and you're back in the room. Your heart is racing. Cold sweat is running down your forehead. The gray-haired man is watching you closely. He doesn't say anything, but you get the message. Not all light comes from God. Not every charismatic leader is sent by him. Not every promise of peace is true. The man sits on the sofa and looks at you, waiting. He doesn't need to speak. You know that this was the first revelation. The gray-haired man is still sitting on the sofa. He hasn't said a word, but he seems to have told you everything. You feel there's more to come. Something inside you warns you that the first revelation was only the beginning. Suddenly, the lights in the living room flicker twice and go out. The soft glow of the Christmas tree continues, but everything else is immersed in dimness. The silence, which was heavy before, is now oppressive. You feel a tension in the air. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, you see the man get up. He walks over to the window and, without looking at you, gestures with his hand, as if asking you to come closer. You feel a slight hesitation, but something else pushes you forward. When you get close to the window, you look out, and what you see leaves you speechless. The streets are empty, but the sky is no longer the same. The dark blue of the night has given way to a reddish hue, an intense red, like the glow of a distant fire. You rub your eyes, but the color doesn't go away. It's not fire. It's the whole sky that has changed. You feel your heart racing. Outside, the air feels warm, even with the snow falling. It's a sensation that doesn't make sense. You don't hear any screams or alarms, but your instinct tells you that something terrible is happening. That's when you see it. It's coming. On the horizon, amidst the red mist, You see a red horse galloping. He approaches slowly, but every step makes the ground shake. The rider on it doesn't look human. He holds a large sword in his right hand but doesn't swing it. He doesn't need to. Where he passes, peace disappears. You begin to see the streets differently. Where once there were united families, now there are divisions. Couples arguing, parents and children drifting apart, friendships breaking up for petty reasons. People who used to laugh together now have each other's backs. You feel it in your own life, in the people around you. People who used to be close but now seem like enemies. The voice that echoes in your mind is not that of a stranger. You've heard that voice before. They will fight each other. Brother against brother. Nation against nation. The Red Knight doesn't need to attack anyone. He just passes by, and the world divides itself. Each person struggles with their own inner demons. Invisible wars break out in hearts. Wars between nations, wars between neighbors, wars within families. You turn away from the window, trying to control your breathing. This division has already begun. You feel it every day. People who once walked together are now separated. Fights over politics, religion, opinions, and minor differences. It's not just outside. It's happening near you. When you turn around, the gray-haired man is closer than before. His eyes look at you seriously. He doesn't have to say anything, but the message is clear. Peace has been taken away. The gray-haired man remains silent, but you sense that something is changing again. The air becomes heavier, and the feeling of warmth that the Red Knight brought disappears. The atmosphere is colder now, but it's not the kind of cold that comes from outside. It's the cold of emptiness. You feel a pressure in your chest, as if something is being taken away from you. It's a familiar sensation: lack, scarcity. The man gets up and walks towards the kitchen. You follow him, not because you want to, but because you have to. His feet move almost automatically. In the kitchen, he stops in front of the worktop, where the cookie jar is. You remember that it's empty. It's nothing new, but this time it really bothers you. He lifts the jar slowly, and with disconcerting calm, opens it. As expected, there's nothing inside. The emptiness of the pot seems to reflect the emptiness you feel inside. The man turns the jar upside down and taps the bottom twice. Nothing falls out. Nothing at all. Your chest tightens. You've been in this situation before. The money runs out before the month is out, and you look in the pantry hoping to find something that wasn't there before. The feeling of looking at an empty pot and not having anything to put on the table is more than physical. It's a wound to the soul. The scene before you changes. The kitchen is no longer the same. Now you're in a crowded market. The shelves are empty. The sound of people arguing echoes through the room. Hands reach out quickly to grab what's left. Rice, beans, bread. Each item is fought over as if it were gold. The air is drier now. His mouth turns bitter, and an image appears in his mind. A black horse with a rider on it. He holds a pair of scales in his hands. You see the pointer swinging from side to side, trying to find its balance. Suddenly, you hear a clear, commanding voice. A measure of wheat for a denarius, 3 measures of barley for a denarius. But don't damage the oil or the wine. You've heard this phrase before. It's in the scriptures, but now it makes sense. It's a warning that the price of food will be so high that an entire salary will only be enough to buy a tiny portion. You realize that this is already happening. Food prices are going up and up. What you used to buy for the whole month now barely lasts a week. The Black Knight doesn't scream, run, or attack. He just rides slowly, but where he passes, the money disappears and hunger sets in. You feel it on your skin. You know the anxiety of seeing the price of something essential double from one month to the next. The vision disappears and you're back in the kitchen. The gray-haired man is still there, holding the empty pot. He looks at you and turns the pot upside down, placing it back on the worktop. No hurry, no words. But the message has been given. Emptiness isn't just in the pot. The emptiness is in the world. Now you understand. The Black Knight is not just a symbolic figure. He's present in supermarket queues, in rising gas prices, in the cost of basic foodstuffs. You've seen him before. Now you know who he is. The man stares at you for a moment, and then looks away. He's looking around the room again. You sense that he wants to show you more. But are you ready to see? The gray-haired man moves once more, but this time he doesn't go to the window or the kitchen. He stops in the middle of the room and looks straight at you. His eyes don't blink, and for a moment, you feel as if time is standing still. His breathing slows down. The air feels thicker. Suddenly, you smell something strange. It's not the smell of food, nor the scent of Christmas. It's a stronger metallic smell, like the smell of iron or something that has been burnt. That smell is familiar, but you don't know where it comes from. Your eyes start to feel heavy, and your vision blurs for a few seconds. When you manage to open your eyes again, the room is no longer the same. You are no longer at home. Now you're in a cold place, illuminated by a white light that's too bright. The sound around you is unsettling. Sirens go off. People scream, coughing, a lot of coughing. Your gaze adjusts to your surroundings, and you realize you're in a hospital. The stretchers are lined up in the corridors. There's no space in the rooms. Nurses and doctors are running around, trying to attend to people. But there aren't enough hands. There aren't enough beds. People coughing heavily, others lying down with oxygen on their faces. The sound of mechanical breathing machines fills the room. You start to walk down the corridor, but the scene only gets worse. You recognize this scene. Yes, you've seen it before. In recent years, you've seen scenes like this on television, in the newspapers, on social media. You see people being isolated, unable to see their families. You remember the fear of leaving the house, wearing a mask all the time. The fear of being touched, hugged, and approached by other people. A feeling of anguish overwhelms you. The pain people are feeling now is not just physical. It's the pain of loneliness. As you walk down the corridor, you hear the sound of heavy footsteps. They come from a distance, but they approach quickly. You turn and see the silhouette of something moving. A pale, almost translucent horse, as if it wasn't quite in this world. But it is there. The Yellow Knight. The rider carries no weapons, but he carries with him a presence that you can't ignore. Where he passes, the air seems heavier. People bend over in pain, and disease spreads. No matter where he goes, the result is the same. People fall, death follows close behind. The voice that echoes in his mind is clear and heavy. His name is Death, and hell follows him. The knight doesn't need to run. He's in no hurry. He walks slowly, but where he passes, the disease spreads like an invisible shadow. You feel people's panic. You remember how scared everyone was during the great pandemics. You remember the fear of contagion, of not knowing what was safe and what wasn't. You felt that too, didn't you? The feeling that the world would never be the same again. Now you know why. The Yellow Knight is not just an image. He is present in the plagues that come out of nowhere, in diseases that have no cure, in the plagues that shake the whole world at once. He is here. You've seen him before, but now you understand what he really represents: death and disease. When the vision disappears, you're back in the room. The smell is still in the air, the smell of iron, of something metallic and dense. It hasn't dissipated. The gray-haired man is standing next to you in silence. He doesn't need to say anything. You understand. You've always understood. The world is not experiencing accidents or unexpected disasters. These signs are part of something much bigger, something that has already been written and is now happening before your eyes. The man moves again, and you sense that the next revelation is about to happen. The gray-haired man looks up and points to the ceiling. The sound of thunder echoes, and suddenly the house shakes. Your legs weaken. The ground seems to move under your feet. You look up and see cracks forming in the ceiling, as if something is pressing in from the outside. When you blink, you are no longer at home. Now you're outside, in a landscape you don't recognize. The sky is covered in heavy black clouds. Lightning flashes across the sky, followed by a deafening sound. But that's not all. Fire is falling from the sky. Red flames, mixed with hail, hit trees and crops. Everything starts to burn. All around them, the green of the trees disappears. The dry vegetation turns to ash. You see the flames consume entire forests. There's nothing people can do. A third of all vegetation is destroyed. I am George, your spiritual leader, and I am here to help you on this journey. God sees you. God knows you. God has chosen you.